Hey guys, it's me. I'm actually coming to you today to address a comment that I did but didn't get on my whip parade video, my last whip parade. And why I say I did but didn't get it was because I got a notification this morning from YouTube saying that someone had left a comment on my whip parade, and when I went to click on it, it's not there. And I've actually had this happen before. It's not the first time. And I don't know why YouTube flags some things as spam, some things it's just hard. But this particular comment, I also get an email in my email inbox whenever I receive a comment or a new subscriber. And so I go to my email, and sure enough, there's one saying that I got a new comment, and it actually shows the entire comment. And I feel like I know YouTube probably flagged this as spam because it's long and rambly and zero punctuation, and it sounds like it's from someone who English may not be their native language. So I can't tell if this is legit or not. They are asking questions. They're trying to get some advice as a new cross stitcher. So I don't know if this is spam or not, but I thought it would be a good opportunity for me to come in and try to answer some questions pertaining to what he's asking. If your name is Brian and you were the one that left this comment, I apologize. I didn't get the actual comment under the video. I'm only responding to this because I can see the comment in my email. For starters, you asked about if a particular piece of fabric was big enough for a design that you were thinking of doing. And you did give me the dimensions of your design and the dimensions of your fabric, and I do think it'll fit. I think it'll be a perfect size fabric for it, actually, because I don't mess with fabric calculators. I don't use them. I don't have any need to use them because it's all pretty simple in my head. I know some people are terrible at math, and I was never good at math in high school either. But I seem to improve at it once I try to take college courses. I don't know. But to me, the simplest way to figure out if your fabric is going to be big enough or not is to take your dimensions of your pattern and divide that. Take your stitch count of your pattern. And divide that by your stitch amount of your fabric. For instance, if you're using 14 count, 16 count, 18 count, you would divide your stitch count by 14, 16, or 18. If you're using, say, 28 count or 32 count, and you're going to be stitching it over 2, which means you're going to be stitching it not within a single block, but double that size. That's called stitching over 2. If you're going to be stitching over 2, say on 28 count, you're going to be using the number 14 as your stitch amount, because basically your stitches are going to come up to about that size, as same size stitches as you would be stitching on a 14 count Aida. So the pattern that he gives me, the dimensions he gives me, is 250 wide by 164. And it looks like he has a piece of 14 count Aida that he's already purchased. And so I did some math, and I'm going to do it again here. 250 divided by 14. So that brings your dimensions of your pattern size just under 18 inches. 17.8 inches. Specifically, so that's just a hair over 17 3/4 inches. So what I would normally do in this case is I would take that and I would say, okay, 17.8, I'm going to round it up to 18. That's the nearest whole number. And then I'm going to add the number 6, which gives me 3 inches on either side. So this is, say this is the width. So that gives me 3 inches on each side. So 18 inches plus 6 is going to be 24. So I would need a fabric that was at least 24 inches on that side. So that's how I get my dimensions. To me, it's quick, it's simple, it's cut and dry. That's why I don't mess with fabric calculators, because they can get confusing. And to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure that they're always correct. I know the was it the Yarn Tree one? It has an entry for border as well as for finishing. Now, the border is going to be, say you finish design, and it's small, whatever, and you want there to be space around the design, empty space around the design, between the design and the frame, say 2 inches. You would put that in as your border, but then if you put, say, 2 inches in the finishing space, they're going to automatically calculate 4 inches on each side, and you really don't need that, to be perfectly honest. At least not in my experience. If you say you only need 3 inches around each side for finishing, then that's really, to me, that's good enough to frame something. Sorry. This is my second cup of coffee. It's afternoon. It's lunchtime. I heated this up I made this cup of coffee like 2 hours ago, and I never got to drink it because of baby. So I'm going to drink it. But basically what you would do, and I'm going to try to show you as best as I can with how to get started. Let's say I have a piece of fabric right here. So basically this is how you're going to find the center. I have this piece of fabric. It's a good sized piece of fabric. What you're going to do to find the center of your fabric, for a beginner, it's easiest to start in the center of your pattern, and you're going to do that. A lot of designers will go ahead and put lines or arrows on the sides of their pattern to show where what line is the center. Some do, some don't. It depends. I mean, you did mention that this is a design that you purchased from Etsy, so it could go either way. Some Etsy designers don't, and some Etsy designers do. But how you're going to find the center of your fabric is you're going to fold it in half, one direction, and then you're going to fold it in half. This may not be exactly half, and you're going to fold it in half the other direction. So this point right here is going to be the center of your fabric. And a little thing that I like to do, come here, dang it. Sorry. Good thing that I like to do is, once I found the center of my fabric, I will take a needle and I would literally just kind of stick it through the end. I would just stick it through that center point right there, so that you can open the fabric back up, and there's and you'll have your center point marked. And when you go and load this on your QSnap, with assembling a QSnap, I did have this taped together, but I I broke the seal on one side so I could show you. With QSnaps, they're going to come in 4 pieces that look like this. Okay. Give or take. May not be exactly 100% like this, but they're going to come in a similar type of thing. And what you're going to do is you're going to take this end with a hole and match it up with this end like this. And it works on both sides. And you just... And that's your QSnap. And then when you have the clamps, they clamp over the QSnap like that. I'm going to put my fabric onto the QSnap here. Some people do it over, some people do it under. I do it over. So to try to match up as best I can where the center piece of this fabric is. So you're going to take your fabric on your QSnap and you're going to clamp it down over just like that. And then you're going to do it again on the other side. Now, I personally like to use felt in between the QSnap and the clamp. Between the fabric and the clamp. But this is just for example. So, there you go. And to find the center point of your design, if the designer doesn't give doesn't mark a center line vertically and horizontally, then I've actually had to literally count the squares and find my center. Like I literally will count how many stitches across, and half that number, and where that half is, that's where your center point is. I've had to do that before because there was no center marked on the pattern. So that's where you would start at on your center point on your fabric. And you need to make sure that your fabric is oriented the right way. This actually happens to be a square piece of fabric. But it has made, even experienced stitchers have done it. You start a pattern and like your fabric is, your fabric and your pattern are taller than they are wide. And for some reason, you accidentally start going the wrong way. So you actually start your pattern to where the long part of the fabric is going this way. It does happen, but try to make sure that you got your fabric turned the right way. Another question he was asking is about grime guards. Grime guards aren't really a necessity in cross stitching, but if you were to look for one, you would just look on Etsy, and I think some sellers on eBay sell them. Just type in grime guards, and you should be able to come up with some results. And you would just search by the size of your QSnap. So like this is an 11-inch QSnap. I have one right here. Okay. And this is an 11-inch grime guard. So when I searched for grime guards, actually the Etsy seller that I buy from, she gives you the option to have the extra fabric, which means the fabric is extra wide. So this is like an extra fabric. And then I have one like this one. This one is not extra wide. This one is just a straight regular QSnap, but you can see there's a good bit of difference. I'm going to put this on here so I can show you. So this grime guard fits an 11-inch QSnap. This is directly centered. You can see how much extra fabric there is around each side compared to what this one looks like. You can see the difference in I don't know. You might could see the difference. But, that is a QSnap. You mentioned something about a 17 by 17 inch QSnap. I don't go that big just because my strength wise, I can't hold them. 11 inch is pushing it, and that's only because a lot of times I will hold it from underneath like this as I'm stitching. So I recently got a stand, a Lowry stand, and I've used it a little bit, but for the most part, I'm probably just going to be using it for when I start being able to use scroll frames. So I have used it a little bit, but I actually find stitching in hand easier for these smaller projects. So that's kind of a how to get started kind of thing. Unfortunately, I can't kit up your project for you. If you already have the fabric, really the only thing that you need is floss, and of course making sure you have needles. And if getting DMC is a problem, like for instance, I'm sure your pattern probably charts the colors in DMC. If getting DMC is a bit of a problem, you can go to places like on Etsy and even AliExpress, which is an Asian-based company, and order CXC. There's also places you can order it, I think through Facebook, but I'm not sure. There's a Facebook group called CXC Lovers or something like that I'm a member in, that I just recently got into. There are places you can buy CXC floss, and that's going to be the closest thing to DMC. They use the same DMC numbers. And you can buy a whole set of 447 colors for like $40 or $50. So, you can check into that, or if you're looking for just for those specific colors that you need for your pattern, you can find a seller on, say, AliExpress and say, and message them, send them a message and say, hey, I need these certain colors. How much for these certain colors? That's all I need. And they will create a listing for you to they will guide you as to what you need to like if there's a particular listing that you need to go ahead and purchase, or they need to make a custom listing for you for just that amount of colors. But you can get in touch with them and they will help you from there. There are other brands of floss that you can use, but DMC is pretty much standard across most cross-stitching these days. But again, if obtaining DMC is an issue for you, you may want to check into getting some CXC floss from online. Or, I mean, you can order DMC floss online as well. There are websites that you can go to order floss, DMC floss, or whatever kind of floss you need. I can't do any of this stuff for you. I'm sorry. So, because he was asking if I would be able to help him kit up this stuff and get the DMC. I can't do any of this stuff for you, unfortunately. But the only thing I can do is to try to guide you as to where to go and what to look for. So, I think when I'm looking at it and thinking what else he asked, because, he was asking about about gridding. There are a couple of tutorials on YouTube as far as gridding your fabric. As a beginner, I would definitely just grid the fabric that you have instead of trying to get pre-gridded fabric, because pre-gridded fabric can be kind of confusing, especially if you get the kind and the gridding line is over one of the rows of blocks. That can get kind of confusing. So it may be confusing for a newbie. So I would just definitely just stick with the Ada that you have, and you can grit it with the thread. Sulky Sliver is a good thing to use for gritting. Or you can get what's known as a water-soluble marker, and that will work as well. And all you have to do is literally wet it, and the marker goes away. But I wouldn't leave it on there for too long, or it may stain it. So definitely I wouldn't try to go with the pre-gridded Ada just yet. I would get a little bit more experience, get your feet wet in stitching, and then maybe slowly start working your way out of that beginning start. I learned everything that I know myself. I didn't have anybody to really teach me anything. I started stitching on even weave on my own. I started learning about flosses, like stitching on different counts on my own. Techniques that I use, I learned on my own, but just by watching FlossTube, really. I can point you to a couple of people that offer gritting tutorials on YouTube. One that I initially learned from was Jennifer Apodaca, and she hasn't posted anything in a very long time, but she does have a gritting tutorial for a project, and I think she does use Ada for her tutorial. There's one for a channel called Notorious Needle, which looks like they have one, and if I'm mistaken, I think, yeah, Half Stitch Cross Stitch has one. Dina, she's a lovely lady. She has a tutorial. And Stitchin' Mommy has a tutorial on how to get started with a cross stitching project. So definitely just do search. The internet is a wealth of information. You can basically find out anything you need to know on the internet these days. So I would definitely check into one of those tutorials to find out how to grid. And they can show you a lot better than I can tell you. So yeah, that's basically this what was in this very long-winded paragraph. Long-winded and run-on paragraph of a comment. When I say this comment is a term paper, this comment is as long as a college term paper. So yeah, if that was you, Brian, whether or not this is a genuine comment, whether or not these are genuine concerns, if that was you, or even if it wasn't you, and you still maybe need a little help with stitching, I would definitely, if you have any questions to ask, not just me, but any YouTuber, I would suggest breaking up your concerns into smaller bits, smaller comments, maybe 2 or 3 questions at a time, but keeping it more concise, because I think the whole reason this comment was probably flagged for spam was because it was so long, and the same question kept coming back around about his fabric being big enough. If it's not big enough, what do he do? Can he do this? What if he should do this if his fabric's not big enough? It just kept coming back around to the same question. So if you have any questions to a floss tuber, definitely kind of try to keep it concise, and more to the, not say to the point, but not a term paper length comment. So I hope that this was help to somebody, whether or not it was Brian or not. Just know that the comment probably will not show up under the video, because YouTube changed a thing last year, about mid-year last year, to where we can't even go in and approve a comment or not if it's been flagged as spam. We can't even go through and see these comments, let alone approve them. The only reason I know that this comment even exists is because, one, I did get a notification that there was a comment, and then also I get an email of that I got a comment, and then it shows me what the comment was. So I hope this is help for somebody, even if you weren't in the intended person. Maybe you needed help with how, where to figure out how to grid, or where to find your center point on your pattern when there is none. I don't know. So if this has helped you, give me a like or a thumbs up or whatever you want to call it. I hope that somebody got something out of this. So, but that's going to be it for me today. I have a cat wanting to be let in, and I need to eat some lunch, and hopefully get some lunch in before the baby wakes up. So, until I see you guys again next time, bye guys.